talking about putting psychology to work for you. Our first speaker is Deborah, Licht, and Misty Hall. And Deborah and Misty both are community college professors at Pikes Peek in Colorado Springs. It's a community college. Dr. Deborah Licht, her Ph.D. is in experimental psychopathology, which is a long fancy word for abnormal psychology, and she teaches intro to psych and elementary statistics. And Misty Hall is a professional counselor, and she has a master's degree in that. She also teaches intro to psych, learning communications class, and loves to be on the ground because she did not like flying here. The last time she was here in Phoenix, I was 2, so that says anything. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor to these lovely ladies.
Thank you. I believe, is my mic on? It is, sorry. Thank you so much. The hardest part of tonight was pronouncing my last name, right? In experimental psychopathology. Is that me? No. We really appreciate you inviting us to come speak tonight. We love psychology. We love psychology students. We've met a bunch of your instructors and professors, and honestly, you have an amazing opportunity here with your Department of Psychology. We're so impressed with all the work that you're doing and the lab, the psych lab that you have. So again, thank you so much. We wanted to talk about how you can use psychology to better your life, to make yourself a better student. And Misty and I think about this all the time. We're full-time faculty in a community college. We have a variety of students with a variety of abilities, and we're always trying to make psychology relevant for students. And so what's more relevant than helping you be a better student, helping you be a better human being? And so we're going to talk tonight about how you can use psychology content in your life, in your schooling. So if you think about it, are you having trouble meeting your goals? Are you having trouble with time management? Are you trying to balance school and work and family? And so are you looking for ways to find an effective way to meet all these goals? And if you are, then psychology is the place for you. And so we're going to talk about how you can harness psychological principles to meet those goals. And the secret is that you already are learning this in your classrooms, right? So I've met your instructors, many of your instructors, and I'm sure the things that we're going to talk about you've probably heard over the course of the semester if you've had psychology before. So this is really kind of awkward, isn't it? To know where we are. So if you read, this was in the flyer, we said we were going to help you harness psychological principles to make them work for you, help you meet your goals, and reach your full potential. So when you decided to come here tonight, were you wondering how we could do that in an hour and 15 minutes? Right? I mean, we can't. We can't give you any kind of magic. We can't give you, advice that's just in an hour and 15 minutes that's going to change your life. What you have to do is think about how you can use what you're learning in your classes, in your psychology classes, to do that. So we're just going to point out maybe some more obvious ways that you can use psychological principles. So we'll talk about how you can harness what we're teaching you already in the classroom.
So we want to ask you a few tough questions. And so when you think about why you are here, why are you in college? Now, you guys, we're going to talk with you tonight, okay? We're not going to keep talking at you, so it's okay to talk back to us, all right? So just don't let me fall off of here. All right, so why are you in college? Say again? Higher education. And what do you want to do with that? You just want to have the degree?
To get a better job.
So you want a better job, right? You want a better job. Why else? Why else are you here? To gain knowledge, to get some skills. Right, so we want to do a little bit of both. Anybody just here because you didn't know what else to do? It's okay to say that, right? Like my mom said, if I was going to live in her house, I had to stay in school. Anybody Anybody in that boat? Yeah. Thank you for your honesty, absolutely. Right? Like, I'm just here because I don't really know what I want to do yet, and I'm not really sure if I want to get a job or if I want to stay in school. I get you. I totally get you, and I think that's an okay thing to say. But when we look at this, we want to think about, what are your core values? All right, do you want a job that allows you to be with your family? Or do you want to be a surgeon and spend your time in a really high-powered career? So do your core values ever conflict with what your long-term goals are? Any way that those might conflict? We're also going to ask you to think about what's important to have. Do you want to work hard and make the world a better place? Don't answer that if you don't, okay? So the answer is of course, right? Or do you want to have little and spend time with family? The other question is, do you want to have a lot and spend time with family, right? I think we would all say absolutely, some of that. Although I spent like 5 days in the car with my family this summer, and we were ready to be away from each other for a few days. So, anybody done that? Yeah, you're like, I need some space. So we're gonna think about, I want you guys to think about some of this as we go along tonight, because we want you to be thinking about the hard questions. Psychological principles aren't just something that exists in your classroom. Like, you just go to class and you're gonna learn a little bit about psychology, and then you're gonna leave. We hope that you'll take that information with you as you go out of the classroom.
Did you see that down there? The first right, answer the question.
We want you to know that this candy came all the way from Colorado Springs, Colorado. It made the flight, so I can't promise you what the shape of the candy is.
Over here, the young woman who was brave and raised her hand.
Where? Show yourself so I can go candy. Let's see. Careful. There. Make sure.
Oh!
Nice. Good reach. Good.
This is Dan, by the way.
That's all I'm here to do.
Yeah.
That's his only job. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, how many of you are currently taking introductory psychology classes? Okay. And how many of you are taking more advanced psychology class? All right. So, most of you are here, and so you just started to learn about psychological principles. We know that most introductory psychology students that we teach will never take another psychology class. And I don't know about, can I ask one of the instructors, is that true here as well? That's true here as well, okay? So your first and only experience in psychology probably will be an introductory psychology class. How many of you are taking intro psych because it's required? Okay, again, many of you are taking the class because it's required, not because it's of interest to you, which is fine, and we know that. We know as instructors that we'll get one chance to share with you what we think is the most amazing topic in the world, psychology, and we will make it as relevant as possible, because we know that probably you won't get another chance to learn about psychological principles. A very small proportion of our students will become psychology majors, an even smaller proportion will actually work in the field, but there are almost 2 million students in introductory psychology classes, and in 2012 and 2013, there are about 114,000 bachelor's degrees that were awarded in psychology. So students come to psychology classes for many different reasons, but what we want to be able to do is we want to give you an opportunity to make it relevant to you, to make psychology topics relevant to you. Just a quick question, how many of you have heard like an adult, a grown-up adult, in their 40s, 50s, 60s say, oh yeah, I took a psychology class once when I was in college. And what did they say they remembered from their psychology class? Nothing? Give her a piece of candy. We love honesty, right in the middle there. Don't.
That's a bad throw. That's on me.
Yeah, what do they remember? They remember Sigmund Freud, okay? She stole your answer, give him a piece of candy.
She gets 2 pieces of candy.
And it turns out that most people who think back to their psychology classes will only remember maybe one experiment that was really interesting, or Freud perhaps because he was so controversial. And so our goal is really to to help you take more than just that one memory with you when you're done with your psychology class. So the APA, the American Psychological Association, also wants us to make sure that we, by the time an undergraduate is done with a psychology degree, that they have met a certain number of goals. Our professional organization cares about you. The APA cares about what you learn. Even if it's just a psychology class, the organization cares and wants to make sure that you're getting the most out of our classes as you can. And so these are the goals that have been chosen. And so the first goal clearly is, learn the content, learn who Freud was, learn who B.F. Skinner was. That's kind of that's what we expect to hear. But we also want to make sure that students are developing scientific inquiry, that they're gaining critical thinking as they're taking our classes. We want them to also develop a sense of ethical and social responsibility and how that relates to psychology. Where does ethics come into psychology? Get your candy ready. You might want to go back up here. There are people way up there.
If the back row starts answering,
Where do ethics come into play in psychology? Yeah.
During experiments,
Okay, can you say more about that?
whether an experiment is ethical or if it's right or fair or just to do.
There's some really amazing findings that we have from really unethical studies, right? There's a sense of identical twins that were separated at birth, and the psychologists tested these identical twins for years, and they never knew they had an identical twin. We can get amazing information, but really through an unethical means, right? He deserves a large piece of candy. Right? Other places where we talk about ethics in psychology. I got too close to your mic. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Right, exactly. And the other thing that we've learned is that professors and textbook authors have taken that study and turned it into something that maybe it wasn't, right? Which is also a problem with ethics in some ways, so definitely. So the more famous experiments we know about, sometimes we learn about them and it's not exactly the way they were. So, okay, the fourth goal, development of communication skills. I assume you're writing papers, you're talking in class, you're doing some presentations perhaps, and then supporting professional development of students. Okay, so more specifically, we can narrow it down to some specific goals. So for example, we know that from research that people learn best when they make connections to their own lives, and this is our goal always, I think, when we're teaching, and I think your instructors would say the same thing, is we want to make it as relevant as possible. And why is that? Why do we want to make psychology relevant to you? Who said that? So they learn? Yeah, absolutely. We have to be able to make it relevant so you can take it with you, take it home. It's not just something that we're going to talk at you about. We want you to take the information home with you and apply it to your own lives. And so, so you've been in, most of you are in intro psych class. So far, what have you learned that connects to your life? What week are you in? Did you guys start before Labor Day? Okay, week 4. So you've learned some things. What have you been able to connect to your own life? Where'd you go? Oh, right there, okay. Okay. So what have you been able to connect? Okay, so you've learned that if you have an expectation for yourself, that can have an impact on a lot of different areas, right? So schooling and so forth. Okay. Other things that you've been able to make relevant?
Social boundaries depending on personal relationships around you.
Okay, so social boundaries, for example, can you give?
Like if I'm interacting with someone I've known for like 5 years, I'm going to be a lot closer. But if it's just some random stranger that I sat next to on the bus, they're going to be a lot more.
And that's probably gonna be different depending on what culture you're in, right? And so we have different rules across different cultures, yeah. Okay.
Right here.
How we are based more on genes than our environment.
That our behavior is based more on genes, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you give an example of some behaviors or some characteristics that you've learned about?
That my family has a little bit of a temper issue.
Okay. Okay, so personality, so some sort of aggressive personality characteristics you think might be something that's passed on through some sort of hereditary manner, right? How easy is it for us to figure out the nature and nurture of it? Like how can, have you talked about that as well? How it's different?
Like the twin studies.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So again, what I know is that your instructors have been doing what is good practice for learning the material, which is making it as relevant as possible for you. Okay.
So we want to talk about psychological literacy. How many knows what that is? What does it mean to be psychologically literate? Sort of. We know the APA, Deb just told us the APA wants us to be psychologically literate. What does that mean? Yes, sir.
Okay, so like, kind of to understand,
Say it really loud.
so like, kind of understand like the principles and stuff that we're dealing with, I guess. in a sense.
Okay, so understanding the principles, take it a little bit deeper. Yes, sir.
Be aware of your own psychology and the people around you and how they interact.
Okay, so be aware of psychology, how it interacts. And so one of the other things is that we want to be able to see the links between psychology and everyday life. One of the things that I want you to pay attention to is how easy it is to become blinded to the headlines, right? You guys hear the headlines? Take some of these. Men forgive girlfriends who cheat if it's with a woman. Really? Turn off the TV and save your brain. Watching SpongeBob SquarePants makes preschoolers slower thinkers, study finds. Or SpongeBob impairs little kids' thinking, the study finds. What's your reaction to this? I mean, I can see it in this way, right, and it feels like a little absurd, right? But then there's some of you that might go, oh, really? Men forgive girlfriends who cheat if they cheat with a woman? Really? Here's the thing. The news media, they get paid to sensationalize, right? They want you reading their articles. They want you listening to their station. They want you to tune in. And so what we have to realize is that in today's media landscape, competition among the media sources really can trigger an escalation in emphasizing the extreme nature of views. And one of the things that we have to realize is that this escalation leads the mass media to overemphasize low probability and high consequence events. Things like the outbreak of Ebola. Anybody remember the headlines that surrounded the Ebola outbreak? Yeah, were you among the few that thought you were absolutely coming down with Ebola anytime you sneezed? You guys, I see some of you, right? It kind of feels like that when you start hearing some of these headlines and you think, oh gosh, or what's the new virus? I have a neighbor who's like totally horrified with mosquitoes right now. They're scared to death they're going to get Zika. She actually told me she was allergic to mosquitoes. I know, right? But we tend to think about this, but here's what happens. How about something that really does impact a lot of people, like diabetes, right? And we have a lot of good strategies on how to combat diabetes. But we don't hear the media making a lot of hype over diabetes, right? So when we think about good psychological literacy, one of the things that we want to do is go to the source, right? Let's take SpongeBob, right? We want to find that source. How do you find the original research? I mean, obviously the Today Show has said that SpongeBob is going to hurt the, what does it say? They're going to make preschoolers slower thinkers, the study finds. I think that was actually in the LA Times. How would you find the original research? Anybody know? Say again? Look at their sources. Okay, look at their sources. Let's see if we can find where they're pulling this information. And then when we pull that research, what does it say? Well, here was what they found. Fast and fantastical shows intended to be educational still resulted in relatively lower executive functioning as compared with reading a book based on an educational show. So executive functioning was lower. They assessed this in 3 studies. Executive functioning was lower after watching fantastical shows as compared with after watching realistic shows or engaged in playing or reading. So these fantastical events was the key, right, regardless of a slow or fast pace. Now, let's take a look at a little SpongeBob. You guys are looking a little sleepy here. And you tell me, they actually looked, this was one of the episodes that they looked at. We'll show you just a little clip here, all right? See what you think.
I'll see the night rat inside again. We're gonna straighten you out! That's a bitch! Did you see that? Yeah, that guy had no front license plate. Let's get him! Look at the president in town.
It is with great pride that I officially open this unfinished bridge.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of SpongeBob, right? That was, what, I think 30 seconds worth? And I think my brain is hurting just from that. Let's watch a little Arthur. This was the other show that they looked at with children, one of the educational programs. See how you think this might compare.
Well, to take books out of the library, you need a library card. But it's easy to get one of those. All you have to do is... What? How about this one? Dog! No, red dog, okay? Got it? And stop being so noisy. See the sign? It says no talking. If I can't read the red dog, how do you expect me to read that sign? Well, just go pester someone else. I'm busy. Where was I? Oh yeah, all you need to do to get a library card is the sign says no talking.
All right, which one do you like? It's not a matter of like, per se, but these were the actual cartoons that they showed in this study. And you can see, on average, that they found in a survey of over 9,000 preschool kids that children, these 4-year-olds, are watching about 4 hours of TV a day. And they use TV in terms of on a handheld, on an iPad, a Kindle reader. Doesn't necessarily have to be the old school TV we used to watch as kids, right? So 4 hours when you're 4 years old, that's a lot of TV. Any of you watch 4 hours of TV right now? Going to school, working, doing your thing? Anybody get 4 hours of TV? Yeah, he's like, I sure do. Right, exactly. You bet, you bet. Can you imagine being 4, watching 4 hours of TV, and it being a lot of SpongeBob? Anybody feel crazy after watching SpongeBob? It's a little out there, right? And then you certainly can tell the difference in the tone between something like Arthur and SpongeBob SquarePants, right? You guys know the song? I'm not going to make you sing it.
He'll give you candy.
Yeah.
I'll give you candy.
Awesome.
Okay, so what does this have to do with, applying this to our lives? We saw a clip of SpongeBob, we saw a clip of Arthur. This was a research study where the psychologist had some children watching Arthur for 9 minutes, some children watching SpongeBob for 9 minutes, and some children are not watching but playing or drawing with markers. And so we have 3 different groups being treated in a different manner. And what they found out was that at the end, there was a difference in the way the children were, the term is executive functioning, but mainly it's in their ability to plan, and their ability to understand the consequences of what was going on. And so they found a difference in the children who watched the fantastical cartoons as opposed to the other kinds, right? You probably started the semester learning about experiments and correlation, yes, instructors? Is that, you spent some early time doing that? What do you know about the difference between experiments and correlation, correlational studies, and what that has to do with causality? Any brave souls? He's got a really big prize for somebody who's willing to talk about that. So we can treat the three groups differently. At the end, we can see a different result. With an experiment, we can say our treatment caused what happened. With a correlation, we're looking at a relationship between variables, and we don't know what caused what, right? And so if we just wanted to look at the amount of time children spend watching SpongeBob or fantastical cartoons, she definitely deserves something.
Absolutely, that's good.
So if we did a correlational study and we just did a correlation to see the relationship between how much time children spend watching these fantastic cartoons and their executive functioning, we found there was a relationship. Why? This is the hardest question of the evening. Why can't we say that SpongeBob caused the change in the executive functioning?
Because there's other underlying factors.
Okay, so for example,
They're just like their natural progression and cognitive understanding of certain.
okay, so there's a relationship. We know there's a link between watching a lot of SpongeBob and problems, planning ahead and problems with executive functioning. Why can't we say that SpongeBob caused it?
The LA Times did. Right? Did you see that? Makes preschoolers slower thinkers.
Right? So the LA Times is telling us that yes, SpongeBob causes it, but why can't we say with a correlation that there's a causality?
Because correlation does not imply causation.
Right? Yeah. So this is the hard kid. One of your instructors want to help us out here? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have this group of children, and they're not picked randomly, right? So we don't know ahead of time whether the kids who watch SpongeBob are different than the kids who don't watch SpongeBob, right? And so then we can't tell, is it because there's something else going on, like their executive functioning is already a problem that's leading them to, they need this kind of frantic energy, right? This is one of the hardest concepts at our college. This is something that we go over several times during the semester, is to be able to distinguish between an experimental design and a correlational study. Because we cannot say that with a correlation there's a causal relationship necessarily, right? As a psychologically literate citizen of the world, you should recognize a correlational study so that you can go, wait a second, maybe it has something else to do with socioeconomic status, or fill in the blank, a bunch of other variables that we didn't control for. I think the instructors deserve candy.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job, ladies.
I know.
Yeah, sorry.
By the way, what are we doing with this candy?
I was watching too much SpongeBob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why do we keep giving out candy? What does this have to do with psychology? Positive reinforcement. What does he mean by that? Up in the we're reinforcing your behavior. Why do we do that? Yes.
Giving positive reinforcement would make others want to answer questions, which would
Absolutely. And it's getting people engaged. You're going to answer questions maybe you wouldn't have necessarily because Dan, he eats candy. This man here. Misty, tell them what I did in my job interview in 2004.
Well, I mail ordered Deb back in 2004 from Denmark, and she flew in, and I was on her hiring committee. And as she came in, she brought in a bowl of red hot candy. I think it was a cinnamon candy that she had broken up. And to the hiring committee, anytime we answered questions and participated during her teaching demonstration, we were rewarded with candy.
And I got the job.
And we said, congratulations, you're in. She feeds us.
We can use it to our advantage. We can use positive reinforcement to our advantage and use it knowingly, for sure.
But how is this going to impact us 10 years down the road? What do you think? Maybe it's not, right? Do you think it will? Maybe with children, at least with the reinforcement, right? What about being psychologically literate? Is that going to impact us down the road 10 years from now? I hope so. I hope if you heard nothing else, I want you to think very carefully about the headlines when you hear something in the news. There's many times that the news will sensationalize a headline based on psychological research, and then we believe it. We want you to think critically about that. We want you to think about how your instructor has used content to help you reach your career goals. Surely you've heard something, some of you just in the last 4 weeks, that might connect with what you want to do in your future. We often hear, oh, I heard that in my psych class. I had no idea that I could work in the forensics field and still do something with psychology, or in the criminal justice field, or in the sports industry, and still have something to do with psychology. All right, what we want you guys to do is to team up with somebody next to you, and you're going to answer this question. If you could ask just one question, only one, to discover a person's suitability for being a babysitter, you can only ask them one question. You are hiring this person based upon one question. What do you ask? All right, we're going to give you 3 minutes to decide. Ready? Go. That's 1 minute down, 2 minutes to go.
Are you guys coming up with one? Are you working?
Yes, we can.
All right, do you have your question? You guys have your question? One question, that's all you get. Okay, right back here.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I know who my kids are. I know what they like. I know what's better for them. I just want to know who you are.
Okay. That's it. Oh, look, we got some differences here. All right, right over here. She said, do you have younger siblings?
Where's that?
Okay, now that's a yes-no question. What if they say yes? Is that all you want to know? All right. Yes. Do you have a criminal record? Again, a yes or no. We're just asking yes or no's. Do you guys want to dive deeper? Do you want to dive deeper? Yes, ma'am. What would you do with my child if he or she had a temper tantrum? Okay? Yes, sir. In the block, yes. Sir.
How were you raised growing up? How did your parents raise you?
How did your parents raise you? Okay? All right, very, very, very bad What's your past work experience? Okay, this lady right here. Can you change a diaper? So I guess you need to know how old my kids are, right? So, right, yes sir. How would you discipline a child? Okay, yes ma'am.
What are your ethics?
What are your ethics? Yes sir, Gracious. What past experiences do you have taking care of children? Let's take one more. Let's go right back here. Yes sir. How do you believe a kid should be raised? All right, so did that one question, oh, you have one burning, I see it.
Oh, I think I would ask, what qualities do you possess that feel you can take care of my children?
What qualities do you possess that you believe would allow you to take care of my children? All right. All right. Was there one more? Okay, I said one more. I'm going to do one more. Yes, sir. What was the environment you grew up in? Okay. All right. Do you guys find this hard? Easy? Here's the bigger question. What did you learn about your partners around you?
They don't have kids.
They don't have kids. Preach, brother. That is the truth, right? I got you. Yeah, they may not have children. Right. What else did you guys learn from your people around you? Yes, ma'am. He's never had to babysit anybody. Right. Right. He's never had to babysit. Did you learn anything else about your teammate? Yes. Everybody has a different view for what they want in somebody rearing their children. So, again, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. Deb was saying what the APA wants you to know getting out of school with a bachelor's degree in psychology. And it's teamwork, communication, knowing how to talk to one another. This might be something that you can apply 10 years from now. All right, we're going to do another activity here. And I want you to determine how well, I'm going to show you some genuine smiles and some fake smiles. Okay? And I want you to determine how well you think that you can detect if the smile that you're going to see on the screen is a genuine smile or a fake smile. Okay? How many of you all think you're pretty good at that? Oh yeah, I got this. Okay. All right, I'm with you. Anybody else think they're going to kill this? You're like, I got it. All right, okay, let's see how well you do. Let's see how well you do. I have to go to a different screen here. Excuse our technology. All right, you ready? Here's our first one. Genuine or fake? Show of hands for genuine. Show of hands for fake. Oh, y'all are wrong. Let's see. That's awesome. That's so good. Well, we got one out of it. See, this is technology for you. Right? How about this one? That's fake, right? All right. When in doubt, improvise, right? Well, if our survey here was working, we would be able to show you a little bit more about this. Tell them why while I'm trying to get this up. Why do we care?
Why do we care? Let's ask you. Ooh, I'm too close to you. Why do we care whether we can detect something from a person's facial expressions? Why we can detect if it's fake or real? When you go studies, does that mean you don't believe it? Okay, good. Okay, so about 85% is nonverbal, and so why does that matter to us? Yeah. We want to know what people are saying. What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. We can learn something about that from them, right? Yes, okay. Anybody else have? Yeah. So first impressions can make a difference, yeah. Up at the top? Okay, so that's really important. We want to be able to determine if people can lie. Isn't there a TV show on that? Lie to Me? Do you watch it? Is it good? Okay. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it. Okay.
We're close.
We're close. All right. Where were we?
Well, we're talking about teamwork and why it's so important. So I want to show you some more of these smiles because I think we tend to oftentimes overestimate how much we think we know, right? Which becomes a problem down the road, especially as it relates to our study, right? Is it working?
No, we need your password.
Don't look like it.
Don't look, people. It doesn't matter. Okay.
I would show everybody if we can get it to work. All right, here we go. Look! Oh, now I have to say yes.
It might not be worth it.
It may not be worth it. So maybe they told us that you guys are here until 10 tonight. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. My dad's a minister, and he always says, do something like pastoral when you're in front of a group. And so I usually pass an offering plate. So do that.
Dan, where are you? Offering plate.
Right, Dan, get the offering. Right? No, so, but when we think about overconfidence, how many of you all go into that first exam feeling really confident about what you know? Right? And you think, oh, I got this. I studied, I know it, and then you get your first exam score back. It's kind of a jolt for some of you, right? And so one of the things that we want you to think about is that idea of having too much, like overestimating what you think you know, right? We can do this in terms of relating to people. We can do this in terms of studying and homework and preparing. And, oh yes, just fill in some stuff there. Okay. This is an actual survey. You guys can do this too. They used to keep this site on the BBC and they don't keep it up to date anymore, so somebody else has kind of taken it over. So I'm hoping that you can see some of this. Yeah, how tall do you want to be?
Can somebody tell me why that matters?
Yeah. On the survey, why do you think they care?
You know, short people can't tell who's got genuine
Right?
skills. Not I saw him.
On their survey, they're asking for interesting information. Goes
Okay.
back to those variables
Here we
that Deb
go.
was talking about. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right. This one was a genuine smile. All right, let's go to the next one. That is anticipation right there.
I'm not feeling good about this.
I'm not either. Well, we might just move on. Oh, here we go. One more.
Okay. All right. Y'all,
Are
here
you
we go.
ready? What do you think? Show of hands for fake. Oh, everybody said fake? Almost everybody. Let's see. That was fake. Good
Give
job.
everybody candy, Dan.
Yeah, I know. Everybody gets kicked down. Can we do one more? Will it show us one more? By some wonderful. Will it do
I'm
one
sorry.
more time? Just by
One more, okay.
Just one more.
One more.
It may not.
Just a little slow.
It's a little slow. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, you ready? Here we go.
All right, did you see that?
All right, fake. Show of hands for fake. We're split here. Okay, show of hands for genuine. Look, none of your instructors are voting. We should make them do it, right? Okay, Deb, what is it?
Fake.
It was fake. Good job. Good job. All right, so we'll go back. All right, so we can become quite distracted with activities like we just did, right? It's easy to have a good time with it and to enjoy it, but we can get distracted. And that's one of the things that we look at in terms of your success long term is multitasking and distractibility. There's media distractions, there's procrastination. How many of you all are procrastinators? That's what we should have talked about. Procrastination, that's a tough one. How many of you all are totally married to your device? Like if I collected all of your phones right now, like some of you might go into literal withdrawal, right? It's tough. We've become very, very connected to those devices. And it's hard to put them down sometimes, right? But do they get in the way, do you think, of your success? How many of you all say straight up, absolutely they get in my way? I'm totally addicted to, what's the thing? Snapchat. Instagram. How many are Instagrammers? I know, thank you for showing me your dinner. It's like, I get so excited when you see what you're eating. It's so good. We're not very good, believe it or not, at multitasking. I have students say to me all the time, I need to take this test and I can only do it if I have my headphones in and listen to my music. Really? Because I got a lot of research that says that's not really very effective. And so when you think about that, you've heard all the don't text and drive. Some of you still do it. I'm going to need a show of hands for that, and your car and license plates numbers before I leave. Right? We still do it. Some people still do it. We know it's bad. Some of you know to come to class and text with your friends while your instructor is chatting with you is not going to help you learn the material. But you still do it. And some of you are all slick and you try to text like this on your desk. But your instructors aren't blind. They totally know what this is. Right? They know what you're doing. I'm just saying. Don't think that you're getting one over on them. They know what you're doing. Texting is a distraction. Your devices are a distraction. They're a distraction from your studies. They're a distraction from your families. They're a distraction from maybe your dog or your cat, right? Things get in our way. And so we actually have seen in the research that people who use Facebook, and my daughter tells me that Facebook is for old people now, so I know, I'm sorry, but this is the research that we have. Why do we research Facebook? Because it's really, really widely used, and we have a lot of good information on it. But Facebook usage and GPA, what do you think it tells us? It clearly says Facebook causes, right? It doesn't say that. But we do know that there is a relationship between academic performance and Facebook use. And I would suspect we could probably extend that to Snapchat and Tinder and Instagram. I mean, so like Tinder, you don't even know what that is, ladies. All right, so I need a volunteer. I want to see who is a good multitasker. And this volunteer has to come up on the stage. I know, but the prize is really good. Who's going to do it? Oh, let's get somebody who... All right, sir. Come on down. Oh, yes. Oh, we've got two of you. Both of you come on. Come on. We'll let both of you try. We'll see which is the better multitasker. All right? Come on down here. Now, here's how this goes. You guys get to watch. And thank God we have internet again, so that's really good. All right. Come on over here. Okay, one of you. Who wants to go first? What is your name? Elizabeth. Would you like to go first? You're here. Let's do it. Okay. So here's how this is going to go. I'm going to hit play. Turn on some music for you. And you're going to use these arrow keys, and you're going to keep this ball balanced. Okay? You ready? Let's do it. You go. She's pretty good. Yeah, you see her? I mean, like, this isn't hard, is it? Right, you're doing pretty well. You do. Okay, here we go. Now she's going to use the up and down arrows. Not let the triangle. Okay. She is actually really good at this. I'm totally impressed with you right now, I'm not gonna lie. Elizabeth, I'm a little worried that you spent 2 much time playing games. All right, good job. All right, look, you get to take your choice. And make sure she gets that ramen. Thank you. Right? Oh, I brought some ramen noodles for you hungry college students. All right, tell me your name. Say Uriel. Okay, can you beat her? Okay, let's try it. Let's try it. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna see. All right, you ready? Okay, now you know what you're doing.
He's got the slow.
The slow music. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is getting hard. Are you guys as good as these guys are? Like, I couldn't get there. Oh, man, nice job. Look, you're going to get your choice of either a Twix or a Snickers and some hand sanitizer. So we want you to have clean hands. Give it up for these guys. You guys, that's why well done. Now, I'd like for you guys to put as much effort into your academics as you do these games, and I feel like you're going to be really, really good for the rest of the semester. That's awesome. That's awesome. So multitasking is tough, right? Research tells us only about 2% of the population is really, really, really good at it. We're probably not among that 2%. Just saying. I mean, they did a great job. Right, those were the 2% in the world. Right there, you just met them. So this is really good. All right. Let's go on.
She always gives me the things that aren't fun to do. Okay, we're going to talk about correlation. Thanks, Misty. You're welcome. Seriously.
Deb gets a Snickers bar.
Come on, come on.
There's no question in my mind or Misty's mind that texting and driving is dangerous, that there are many problems with multitasking, but we want you to read the research and we want you to be critically thinking about it. So what this is saying is that a lot of this research is correlational, right? And we know that it's a problem. We know that making a causal statement about a correlational study, it can be problematic. Okay. All right. So again, I get to talk about the boring stuff. Thanks, Misty. So self-regulated learners, what we're hoping is that when students leave high school, they go to college and they become self-regulated learners. Because what happens in high school? What was your high school like? Were you regulating yourself in terms of your learning? What's that? Right, so you have worksheets and you're in school from 7 to 3 every day and you weren't regulating yourself at all. You were being controlled by the environment, you were doing what you were told. When you get to college, what happens? What's that? You choose your classes. What else do you have to choose? You choose what time you go? You choose if you want to go, right? Why is that like, yeah, that's give or two. Yeah. Right? I mean, you have to make so many choices as a college student that you weren't allowed to make as a high school student. And you have to make choices that are good for your learning. And it's not easy. Why? You've never done it before. You never practiced it, right? So that's one of the important points that we want to make is that you have to practice this. You have to regulate yourself through practicing how to be a good student, how to manage your time, how to manage your learning. We know that human learning is, where are we? It's peculiar. Have you done any, have you had your learning lessons yet? I don't know where you are in your classes, not yet. You'll find out that you're gonna learn about learning, and hopefully you'll be able to apply it to your own learning, right? So we hope that's true. You probably, I don't know if you've learned about memory yet, but also memory has its own problems. It can fail you in many ways, and so as you're learning information, you have to keep this in mind.
We want you to ask yourself some of these questions. Are you doing some of these things, right? Are you considering how you've been studying? Do you consider when you study? Do you schedule time to study? Some of the things that we want you to look at is, I tell my students all the time, you've got to schedule it in. You got to schedule it in. We tell students at Pikes Peek Community College in Colorado that for every credit that you take in our classrooms, that you need to plan on studying 3 hours per credit outside of class. Okay, let's do some quick math on that, okay? On average, our students take 12 credits a semester. All right, where are my math whizzes? 12 times 3 is what? 36. That's 36 hours outside of school that you should be devoting to study. How many of you all do that?
Yes.
Right? Per week. That's 36 hours per week that you should devote outside of your classroom to study. Now, 36 plus the 12 hours you're already in the classroom is how much? That's more than a full-time job. How many of you all work? Roughly about how many hours?
40.
Roughly 40. How many of you all like to sleep? Right? When are you going to sleep? If you're working a 40-hour-a-week job and you're doing school roughly 40 hours a week, or you should be, right? How many of you all like to go out on the weekends, right? So something has to give at some point, and most of you choose your study time, right? Oh, it got real. I went there. Totally went there. Some of you are choosing your study time instead of sacrificing maybe time on the weekends, etc. But you've got to think about, what do you really want to accomplish? Why? It goes back to those questions that we asked you at the beginning. Why are you here? Why are you here? Are you wanting to get the A? Are you hoping to get just the C? Some people hope just for a C. I get it. I really don't, but okay. I want the A. I want the A. All right, we want to also think about some of the techniques that the research has shown actually are effective for study, right? You'll learn, I'm sure, throughout the coming weeks about the difference between mass practice and distributed practice. Taking time to study a little bit every day from every single subject as opposed to studying, boom, I'm going to try to read my entire psychology chapter right now. That's tough, right? It's hard to remember all that stuff, and then you go the next day and I'm going to read all of my history. How would it change for you if you actually said, I'm scheduling some time, I'm going to read for 30 minutes on psych, I'm going to read 30 minutes on history, I'm going to read 30 minutes on something else, and you broke that up across the day? You think it would change for you? Could you remember the content a little deeper? Maybe a little better? For some of you, you could. For most of you, you could. We know from the research that one of the least effective study techniques is highlighting and underlining. How many of you all highlight and underline? Right? And that really helps you remember, doesn't it? Like, you can totally tell me what you just highlighted, right? Most of you can't. You know why? Because we do this. Right? You can highlight the whole book, but it doesn't make you know it any better. It doesn't make you understand it any better. So you want to think about when to use these practices. Highlighting is okay. I'm not saying stop highlighting. I'm saying know when to use it and when to use it effectively. Okay?
Okay, so these are some of the things that you might not want to do. So the suggestion is, don't spend too much time looking at key terms or summaries. Don't use chapter review questions as the content to study. Don't study with a friend if you're not testing each other. These are just examples of ways that you can, that you won't be able to make the material relevant, that you won't be able to get in deeper with the information. We know that higher exam scores are correlated with class attendance. There's that word, the correlation word again, but there is a link between higher exam scores and class attendance. We also know that students who answer all the study guide questions do better on exams. We know that students who use practice exams do better on exams, and students who are able to explain problems do better on exams. Again, these are these are tips for how you might better study for your for the course material that you're trying to learn.
And unfortunately, there is no silver bullet, right? There's not just one thing that's going to work. And you have to understand when you can apply these techniques and when they work for you and how best to use them. And what works for you might not work for you. And so it's important to practice these different techniques and not get stuck in your same old routine because you just need to get through the material. Think about if you actually took the principles of psychology and applied it to your study. How different might your grades look at the end of the term? Think about that.
The other thing to realize is that most of us start college not knowing how to be good college students. And so talk to your instructors, talk to the tutors, and find new ways. If you're not doing well, find new ways to try learning material.
And one of the things that Deb and I are really, really passionate about is this idea of persistence. You know, they often look at us and say, oh, you've written a book. You must be really smart. Deb, you have your Ph.D. You must be really smart. We must be really persistent, right? Persistence is such an important piece of the puzzle in every single thing that you do. Do you know they looked at the Eastern and Asian students and American students, and they wanted to know how differently they viewed struggle. And one of the things that they found is that American students see struggle as failure. They equate the struggle to failure, and they give up. And they say, I can't do it. They look at it as an abilities model. The Asian students see it as an effort model. And when they put these first graders in rooms and they give them a problem that's tough, they see it as a challenge to practice what they know, to persist. What if you approached the struggle differently? And you didn't see the struggle as failure, but as an opportunity. You persist. Guys, this applies to more than just your studies. You persist. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Does involvement matter? Yes, we know that it does. We know that students who are involved in extracurricular activities, students who are involved in volunteer work, and maybe your extracurricular has to, or your engagement outside of school has to be work, your job. All we know is that those students perform equally as well academically as the students who are just doing academics. There's only one difference, and that was intercollegiate sports. We saw a little bit of the grades drop for athletes. However, the irony here is that they were among the happiest students at the schools. So there's a little bit of a trade-off. But engagement matters. Get involved and persist. Both very important aspects of success and being a successful student using the psychological principles. Persist. Have productive persistence.
Okay, so a couple more tough questions. We're almost going to let you go, even though it's not 10. So this is a recent study that was published, and the researchers asked participants one question. They said, which do you want more of? Do you want more money or more time if you had to choose one or the other, right? So stop and think for a minute what you would choose. Would you choose more money or would you choose more time? Okay, the majority of the participants chose more money. But what they found was that the individuals who reported being happier were those who said they wanted to choose more time. Because when you think about it, if your goal is to earn money, to make money, you're trying to get something that you don't have enough of, right? But how are you going to spend your time? You're going to spend your time doing things that you already have. You're going to spend time with family. You're going to spend time doing sports or whatever. So the idea is that think about what's important and think about the reasons why you might choose one over the other.
we want you to step back for just a second and consider how you might benefit from the study of psychology. We want you to develop good critical thinking skills. We want you to understand scientific process used by psychologists. We want you to connect the findings to events in the news and everyday experiences. But most important, we hope the lessons of psychology enable you to become a more tolerant and compassionate person. The knowledge of psychology can be harnessed on our own well-being. And we want you to remember what you learn throughout your semesters here at Mesa and other colleges as you move on about in your degree plans. And as you pursue your goals, that the knowledge of psychology can be harnessed for your own well-being. Don't forget that sleep and regular exercise and healthy foods are essential for a healthy brain and a healthy body. And if the stressors of work and family and money are accumulating, take a minute and direct your attention to the here and now. And sometimes being fully present in the moment helps put life in perspective and alleviate stress. And above all, if Deb and I leave you with nothing else, remember that helping other people is one of the best ways you can help yourself. Thanks for having us today, guys. Marissa, today, do you want us to open it up for questions? Okay, do you guys have questions? Right, no, we are so tired. There's one here and there's one up here, so yes.
Talk more about what you mean by psychology careers in forensic science?
Yeah, there's a whole field developed for forensic psychology. And so if you are that criminal mind kind of person and you want to know more, the American Psychological Association has on their websites a whole list of different careers that focus in on something that you might want to specialize in, not just forensics, but maybe it's something, ergonomics, or maybe you like sustainability. There's something for everyone, for sure. Yes. Right back here, yes, sir. Oh, I'm so sorry. Why? Why did we go into psychology?
Well, I'll tell you, I went into psychology because I tried chemistry, I tried biology, I tried anthropology, I tried a variety of classes, and the first time I took a psychology class, it was like magic for me. It really was. I didn't want to do anything else after that.
Yes, sir. Sorry, one more time, really loud.
Dan, we need the
We need that mic, Dan. Yeah, can you, I'm so sorry.
You throw candy.
I was wrong.
There's another question up here while Dan's raising up there. Oh, right there, hi.
Oh, hi. So with the faces and showing different people's smiles, like obviously those people were told, okay, smile at the camera. So what determined a genuine smile and a fake smile?
Great question. I'm going to assume, because I haven't read the original study, but I'm going to assume that it was something like they were told a joke, or there was some stimulus that made them smile or laugh. That's my guess, but that's a great question.
We're getting there. Sorry, you've been so patient. Thank you.
So when you say like multitasking in the research review, so with the new generation of people that are like playing video games and are more used to media and stuff, do you think they would be better at multitasking versus people that have like computers were just starting when they were older?
That's a great question. It's a really great question. I don't know if multitasking is getting better, per se, or just the fact that I think maybe our memories are getting worse, for sure. I think we're relying on technology with our memory. I don't know if multitasking is getting better. I think we still have more research to do in that field, for sure. Yeah. Long-term studies to see how it progresses over the course of time. Yes, sir.
Do you think the positive reinforcement of the throwing of the candy distracts us from listening to the message you're sending?
For some, absolutely.
It's a good question, because when we're reinforcing behavior, we want to make sure we're reinforcing the correct behavior, or the behavior that we're targeting. So perhaps that when we throw candy, we're reinforcing giggling, or we're reinforcing distracting behavior. So that's a really good question. We have to be careful of what we're reinforcing.
I'm throwing him study skills.
I know, study skills. He just threw his study skills. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not really sure what the best way to ask this question is, but I was wondering what it was that give people the ability to be able to read other people to discern whether or not they had a genuine smile, and whether or not, like, if there's something that I can do to work on that to be able to be better at it.
I think there are like police forces, I believe, that are trying to train people to judge, people who are lying. I mean, there are ways that we can try to train ourselves to be better detectors of emotions. But
You read Paul Ekman's research. Ekman does a lot of research into those kind of micro expressions and understanding the different facial expressions.
But I would say don't count on lie to me. Right?
Yeah, don't watch that show.
Right? I mean, if you're really interested, go directly to the library right now and start looking and reading the research, because this is not our field of expertise, but there are people out there who are experts at that particular, and so definitely do research on your own and find out who's learning how to be able to help people improve their ability to do that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Deborah, I have two questions. One, I'm just curious, you're German, I take it?
No, Polish.
You're Polish?
Yes.
Okay, so what is your last name?
My family's name is Licht,
Oh, okay.
which the family mythology is that it means lamplighter,
Oh, okay.
but I don't believe it.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say Licht, as
It's
I
light.
say in German,
Yeah.
means light.
Yes, yeah.
Anyways, second question. So if you're going to babysit my kids, what do you do? What's the first thing you do when you get in your car? That's my question.
After I leave your house?
No. Just my question to you, if you're interviewing for my to be my babysitter for my kids.
What's the first thing I do?
What's the first thing you do when you get in your car?
I put my seatbelt on. I got the job. Good question.
Yeah.
So the person that was sitting next to me earlier, we actually had a conversation after you asked us what we learned by asking them, and we were thinking, you know what, we could ask them that same question. We could ask them, well, if you were a parent and you were going to hire a babysitter, what question would you ask babysitters? Because that shows what they value and what they value in the protection of children.
It's a good question. Very good question.
Another cognition. You should study that too.
Yeah.
You guys, it's late. We know you've given up a lot of time. Thank you so much for letting us come. It was lovely.